آقا اگه بم نخوره تو سرمون تا 2028 زنده باشیم تا 2030 کیم نمیریم رایوت گیم پلی تستشو بازی کرده. قبلا من براتون ویدیو گذاشتم در رابطه با دنیای بسیار قشنگی که لیگ آف لجند داره. لیگ آف لجندز رونترا مپ توی ویدیوهای یوتیوب هم هست، توی پلیلیست گیم های دیگر. ببینید دنیای رونترا واقعا پتانسیل اینه که تبدیل به یک MMO باشه رو داره. رایوت گیمز داشته روش کار میکرده ولی اونجوری که فکر میکردن نشد، کنسل کردن به خاطر اینکه میدونستن موفق نمیشه. گفتن اوکی پاس باید بریم دیولپر بگیریم و گذشت و نکرید که بسیار کانتنت کریتور خفنیه در رابطه با این دنیا صحبت کرده بود. ما هم ویدیو گذاشتیم، میتونید تو یوتیوب ببینید، چون نمیخوام تو این دنیا و این MMO که قراره بیاد صحبت کنیم. پتانسیل بسیار بزرگی داره. رایوت گیمز کمپانی خفنیه، تجربه بازیسازیش هم خیلی زیاده و میدونه که با کی باید رقیب باشه. حالا ما در رابطه با این مسائل میخوام صحبت کنیم. یه خورده اول این ویدیو رو میبینیم، چند هفته پیش اومده بود در رابطه با قدمی که رایوت گیمز راجع به MMOش گذاشته و لیکی که جدیدن شده. یعنی جفتش رو میخوایم ببینیم. بریم با هم داشته باشیم چجوریه.
Huge news for Riot's MMO. News so big that when we are looking at the percentage scale of Riot canceling the MMO, we are approaching 0%.
دیگه 0% شده دیگه، کنسل شدن. 100% دارن روش کار میکنن.
And that's because Riot just made one of the biggest acquisitions of manpower that they could have made.
این یارو رو میبینید، اینو فکر کنم از بلیزارد استخدام کردن. من میدونم کارگردان تیم PvP رو استخدام کردن.
And it all happened because of a pile of luck and the stars aligning. So, despite people not thinking there is a lot to talk about when it comes to the Riot MMO, the truth is that if you are dedicated...
داستان لیگ آف لجند همونطور که قبلا چند سال پیش ویدیوش گذاشتم فوق‌العاده است. لیگ آف لجند فوق‌العاده است و داستانش مثل ووه از 10,000 سال پیشه. داستان استبلیش شده و آماده است. نژاد، کلاس، سرزمین، پلات تویست، شخصیت آماده است. موزیک، تیم، آرت، همه چی آماده است. باید بسازنش.
enough and you crunch through the job listings and what is happening in
حتی توی جاب لیستش اومده که برای MMO جدیدشون این آدما رو میخوان.
industry, you can pry open a lot of information every week. I mean that's how we keep talking about the game.
و حتی یه دونه سایت زدن نوشتن we are making an MMO. ما داریم یه MMO میسازیم. Massive multi online role play game.
Fight right silence. And one of the primary ways of learning about the game is using the official Riot job listings and checking out who's getting on the team. And if you remember me saying that the team was getting stacked last time, it is now that we are getting to the good part. Things got serious quick, and they got serious for multiple reasons. First of all, the Riot MMO is still fighting a seemingly impossible battle.
I got one challenge for you. Try Whisper Flow once. One time. And I promise you'll understand why.
Because all of their competition is crumbling and
میگه رقباشون
Riot is trying to make something in an environment
میگه باید مقابله بتونه بکنه باهاش. رقیبش World of Warcraftه. World of Warcraft تا رایوت گیمز گفته 2030 میخوایم بدیم. اون موقع میخواد ببره برای 20 سال بعدی و پس رقیب گنده‌ای داره. کلاسیک پلاس هم هست. یعنی واقعا رایوت گیمز کار سختی داره.
where nobody made it. It doesn't matter if somebody is new or if it is a team of veteran MMO designers. And it doesn't matter if we are talking about someone
میگه مهم نیست کسایی میان که وترن باشه، نیو باشه.
new or a team of MMO veterans. The Dune MMO is barely hanging on. Ashes of Creation
میگه داره میگه اینا پدرشون در اومد.
went up in flames. The Ghost MMO got cancelled. And now the game that was technically classified as an MMO2, which is Destiny 2, is shutting down as well. So the only MMOs that still hold on are the classic MMOs.
گیلد وارز 3 که داره میترکونه چون قرار گیلد وارز 3 بیاد. پس یه رقیب خیلی گنده دیگه هم داره که گفتن میخوایم اِوولوشن بکنیم توی بازی. یعنی میخوان ساختار MMO رو ببرن جدید، اختراع بکنن. پس یه رقیب گنده دیگه هم داره. فاینال فانتزی هم هست، وو هم هست.
That have an audience that already love the nostalgic feeling as well as the classic designs. With World of Warcraft after the many years still somehow leading the charge, although their numbers are also slowly getting iffy, with Classic actually locking people in, somehow, and their direct competition could be considered Old School RuneScape.
Old School RuneScape هم یادم رفت، اونم خیلی قدرتمنده.
Somehow I still haven't played that one. And since Classic WoW just teased that Classic Plus might be coming, which is one of the most anticipated events in the entire MMO.
واقعا مورد انتظاره، فوق العاده است. اگه حوصله داشتین من براتون از کلاسیک پلاس میگم.
Genre, really? Riot might actually get their own rival straight from the beginning. Which is why Riot is in this interesting place design-wise. Looking at the current MMO audience, it would make sense to make a more classic-styled MMO.
بله.
But looking at the potential...
این اصلا بخوای سعی کنی تریپل ای گیم بسازی، چنم ای بسازی، اصلا جواب نمیده. ام ام او باید چیزای خوبش رو رایوت الهام بگیره، از کلاسیک وو الهام بگیره، از اکشن نیو ورلد الهام بگیره،
خوبشون رو بگیره. They want to try something new to catch a new lightning in a bottle. I mean, that is exactly why the first MMO reset happened. They wanted to make something new.
بله، می‌خواستن یه چیز جدید خوب بسازن.
Making the entire journey quite a challenge. And so, how do you make this challenge easier for you? You surround yourself with people that definitely know what they are doing. And that is the big thing that happened yesterday. You see, one of the reasons why some people may have confidence in the Riot MMO is because of the people behind it. It is full of veterans who previously worked on some of the best games in the world. I mean, right now, it is led by the former producer of Mass Effect 3, specifically someone who is responsible for the creation of the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, which, let me tell you, Mass Effect, still my favorite universe in gaming, and I spent literally thousands of hours in the multiplayer specifically. It had a really cool design with an incredibly rewarding and satisfying progression system, which is exactly what you want to see in an MMO, and that alone made me excited. But then you also sprinkle in some veterans from other MMOs, including a bunch of veteran WoW developers. We are once again talking about previous senior engineers on World of Warcraft, where some of them made some of the best experimental game modes for World of Warcraft, with one of the biggest acquisitions up to that point being the form...
سرتونو در نیارم. اینو نمیخواستم همشو بگم. خواستم بگم که پس دارن روش کار میکنن. نمیخوام راجع به MMO رایوت گیم صحبت کنیم که چه جوری میتونه باشه. قبلا ویدیو گذاشتیم. حالا بریم این ویدیو لیکر ببینیم که تازه گذاشته. من میخوام اینو ببینم واقعا لیک چیه.
Believe this is happening. After many years of the MMO genre staying in the dust, with anyone who even attempted to make an MMO immediately burning up on arrival. It seems like now, like a phoenix, the genre is rising from the ashes, with new opportunities rising all around us. And after the latest Riot MMO news, which kind of blew up the hype again, some people said things which they shouldn't have. Tweets were deleted, people got even more hyped, and now... I wouldn't be surprised if Riot was shaking because matching these expectations is gonna be crazy. And I'm probably not helping. So, there is a good chance...
میگه من روی قضیه انتظارات کمک نمیکنم. چرا میکنی؟ تو ویدیوهات باعث شده مردم دیوونه بشن.
You've heard about the news about the Riot MMO that came out only a few days ago. Long story short, Riot hired
این یارو رو از وو استخدام کردن. سینیور گیم دیزاینر وو.
Legendary dev that is responsible for some really good gameplay design on video games that could be considered, let's say, one of the biggest in the entire MMO genre. Of course, here we are...
جزو بهترینای مال MMO
are talking about Brian Holinka, who is very well known in the MMO community, who then tweeted that he's joining the Riot MMO team, after which everyone freaked out. Because while all the other MMOs are burning and layoffs are happening all the time, Riot just keeps hiring more high-profile people, which indicates their confidence. Not to mention that at this point, the Riot MMO has entire teams that previously worked together on World of Warcraft.
Okay. یعنی پس یه تیمی داره که قبلا روی وو کار کرده بودن.
But where things really got out of hand is where Holinka looked at his own tweet. He noticed the tweet was getting a lot of traction, which might be something he potentially didn't expect. And he replied further to his own tweet. And that was likely the
دیلیتش کرد چیزش رو پستش.
mistake. Because it seems like he hasn't been PR trained yet. And he likely said things that he probably shouldn't have. And unfortunately for the entire Riot MMO team, it only further fueled the hype. Yes, I know, the Riot MMO is quite literally suffering from success. Now, the issue for us is that this tweet that spoiled some information about the Riot MMO got deleted. And it was deleted so fast, it can't be found in any of the archives and you can't even find it on the Wayback Machine. The issue for Riot is that the Riot MMO fans are fanatics. me likely included. And so of course, people got screenshots of what was said. And because all of this is public information, as far as the internet is concerned, it should be all fair play. Now, is this tweet gonna ruin all of Riot MMO's plans? No. But we can get some interesting nuggets of information out of it. Wow, people are really
اوکی اینو دیلیت کرد. اونو قبلی رو دیلیت نکرد، اینو دیلیت کرد.
excited about this game. I emoji.
Okay.
So he did get PR trained. I promise to do my best
I feel
to help the team. They are incredibly talented and passionate about bringing Runeterra to life. I watched the playtest last night and it looked like a blast.
پلیتستشو بازی کرده. میگه من حاجی لیست پخششو دیدم. کاری که میخوام بکنن اینو میگه it was a blast.
So, it may not look like much, but we actually got two interesting pieces of information here. First of all, at the beginning, everyone was focused on the playtest. Now, while a playtest could mean anything, because you have to playtest your own game from the blocking stage all the way to the final polish. By now, the Riot MMO should be in the stage where the core gameplay is in a locked
آره میگه
direction.
کورش رو ساختن، چارچوب اصلیشو، حالا باید درستش کنن.
And now it is all about the muscle building on top of it. What is really interesting though is that he watched a playtest. Meaning that
he watched a playtest. playtest رو نگاه کرد، یعنی ویدیو بوده. اوکی.
other people were playing it with people potentially being the plural, which could lead into the assumption that Riot is testing the dungeons and the raids, which should be the core of an MMO.
Dungeon and raids.
Especially because Brian Holinka specifically is all about the class design and the combat design. Now, to tie this all back to what was said before, we know that the Riot MMO is still aiming for the potential release of 2030 at the latest.
2030 میخوان بدن.
But knowing how dev cycles work, once you get into a proper testing phase, the release should be a lot closer. So taking
میگه اگه الان اینجا هستن پس میگه به نظر من ریلیزش نزدیک‌تره.
industry standards into account, it is likely the MMO might actually come out around 2028. Which means that now we would have a theoretical release window. What's even crazier is that Tauli, a known WoW creator,
تاولی میشناسید دیگه آره بله.
also dug into the classic MMO dev cycles. He mentioned that with the current dev cycle, the MMO could be expected within the next 2 or 3 years, which would line up with the release window. And he added that he would expect an announcement within the next 16 months. Of course, all of this is pure speculation. But then the executive producer of the Riot MMO replied
میگه تهیه کننده اجرای بازی اومد دو تا چش گذاشت به حرفش. آقا اگه بم نخوره تو سرمون تا 2028 زنده باشیم تا 2030 کیم نمیریم رایوت گیمز. نگاه دنیای لیگ آف لجندز بالاخره تست می‌کنه.
Or everything. It could also specifically be a reply to Tauli saying that the game will be a banger, and so we actually don't know. But now, the new potential release of 2028 was born. And again, all of that came out of a person that said one sentence too much. And what solidified it was Riot taking the tweet down. Because the chances are that Holinka didn't know that he was saying too much. He likely didn't know how much was known about the project. He was likely told that he could tweet about his own position, and remember that he just came out of the Ghost project, which was a very transparent MMO. But that is where another piece of information comes in. Because if you really focus on what he said here, he didn't know. And this is what surprised me the most. There is absolutely no shade towards Holinka. Game development in general is pretty much a hellscape right now. I know about it. People do keep wishlisting my game. But the assumption would be that at a high level, if you are working on a big game genre, which would match an MMORPG, shouldn't you have a good idea of the competition around you and what is going on in the industry? Maybe this is how I see it because I am deep in the Riot MMO bubble. But I thought it was a well-known fact that the Riot MMO is probably the most anticipated MMO in the world. And so
آره به نظر منم راست میگه. MMO لیگ آف لجند مورد انتظار ترین MMO چند سال اخیره. همه دوست دارن بیاد. لیگ آف لجند خودش دیگه به حال خداییه تو سبکای خودش.
to not know that people would be excited about this game, end of quote. kinda caught me off guard. Also, it is funny that technically this is the first time we got it directly confirmed that the MMO is gonna be taking place on Runeterra. Somehow, before this, we never got an official statement.
میگه ما استیتمنت اینو نداشتیم که دنیاش دقیقاً همون رونترا. یعنی الان یورو گفت دنیای رونترا هستن.
Not to mention, the MMO isn't announced yet, technically. We only ever got assumptions about Runeterra, because if you have a look at the previous job listings, there were some requirements for people to be familiar with the League of Legends IP. On top of which, tied to the original tweet, he didn't even call it the Riot MMO. Holinka called it the League of Legends.
میگه بهش نگفت رایوت MMO، میگه صداش کرد لیگ آف لجندز MMO. راست میگه، نگفت MMO رایوت گیمز، گفت MMO لیگ آف لجندز
MMO. Riot should be thankful he also didn't leak the name of the MMO, I guess. I mean, if they follow their latest naming patterns, be ready for 25-man raid nights. Anyway, as you can see, even after digging deep into this, at first sight, this tweet doesn't seem that big, and the reason for it being taken down kinda seems overblown. But the truth is that it gained traction and the MMO got hyped like never before. This led into every tweet with the Riot logo that mentioned the Riot MMO immediately blowing up. Of course, at first, this trend came out of all the people who were hired for the Riot MMO. But after that, even if people weren't hired, they still did it and they still got good old internet points. And so, a new trend started. People started tweeting the Riot logo, talking about the Riot MMO, and the hype kept building up. Of course, this charge was led by one, let's say...
Hey everyone, I suddenly announced today officially my first day tweeting that I'm going to announce that I'm incredibly excited for the... Oh, incredible, baby!
MMO and or RPG troll, who also got recently invited to Riot.
اسفند چرا رفته چیز؟ اسفند رو هم بلیزارد دعوتش کرده برای کلاسیک پلاس. اسفند و زاریو و سودا پاپین و دیگه سویکس و همین رو رفتن اونجا با هم. جالبه برای رایت گیمز هم دعوتش کردن.
But from personal experience, every time I happened to be at Riot, people thought it was about the MMO and it never was. So the chances are this isn't. After which, we even got some MMO devs having fun with the new trend. And so now, the hype for the Riot...
به هر حال سرتون رو در نیارم، من خیلی مشتاقم. به نظرم رایوت گیمز کمپانی خوبیه، بسیار قدرتمنده، سالها سال داستان استبلیش کرده، بلد، ساخته، آماده است، موزیک، گرافیک، آرت، بک‌گراند، 10,000 سال قبل از دنیای وید، سلستیال ها، همه چی آماده است. برید تو یوتیوب من داستان 10,000 ساله لیگ آف لجند ببینید، لذت ببرید. ببین قشنگه. اگه ببین یکی از دلایل موفقیتش میدونید چیه؟ نه به خاطر رایوت گیمز، به خاطر اینکه داستانش استبلیشه. نیاز نیست پرت و پلا بگن. میدونن چی باید بگن، میدونن ناکسوس و رنگ شنگی باشه، لباساشون چه شکلیه، فرهنگشون چیه، تمشون چیه، میدونن و این چیزیه که ما باشون طرفیم و it is what it is. امیدوارم زنده بمونم، نمیرم و بتونم اینو پلی بدم واقعا.